In today's session, we will talk about two very important topic, that is function in Python and second recursion in Python. So let me start the session, and first we concentrate on functions. So if we talk about the function and if you want to make function, then def keyword is very important. So def is a keyword. Okay, then you have to give some name to your function. So here the name of my function is greet. So greet is the name of my function, and that colon is the part of syntax, and that is actually the body of my function. Okay, so I want to print welcome to coding classes. Okay, so that is the body of my function. Okay, if you want to write 5 lines of code, 6 lines of code, then you have to write line by line. Okay, suppose that you want to write some other lines. Okay, like welcome students. So that is actually the body of my function. Okay, and technically we call it function definition. So that is actually the function definition. Okay, that is actually the function definition. Okay, so if I run that program, so screen is blank because we only declare the function, or we can say that we only declare the function with its definition. But if we not call the function, then it's not work. Okay, if you want to call the function, then it perform its task. Okay, so we want to call that function. Okay, we want to call greet. Okay, so we have to write greet. Okay, so that is actually function calling. Technically we call it function calling. Now we call greet function. Okay, so if we run the program, then it will perform its operation and it will print welcome to coding classes and welcome students on the console, on the terminal. Okay, so technically call it function calling. Now we make some more functions for better clarity. Okay, so next is we want to check the given string or given number is palindrome or not. Okay, so first we have to take one number from the user. Okay, so for that first we have to take one number or string, anything. Okay, so we have to take some data, and data is in both like integer format and string format, both are acceptable. Okay, so we want to check it that number or that string is palindrome or not. Okay, so we have to write input enter number or string. Okay, and we know that input function always take data in a string format. Okay, so if user enter 1 to 3, so behind the scene actually it is in string format, not in integer format, but we can check it. Okay, that is palindrome or not. Okay, so for that we have to make one function. And the name of my function is my palindrome. So my palindrome is the name of my function, and we have to pass that data as an parameter. Okay, now we want to check if that data is equal to colon minus 1, colon minus 1. Okay, so if we write data colon minus 1, so it will reverse that string. Okay, so it will reverse that string, and we have to print that is palindrome. Otherwise we have to print it is not palindrome. Okay, so it perfectly work. Okay, so for that first we have to call that function. Okay, so for function calling we have to write like this. So technically we call it that as function definition with its declaration, and now we have to call that function. We have to call our function that is my palindrome, and inside that we have to pass the data. Okay, now again we will run the program, enter number of string. So if I write 123, okay, so 123, okay, so the problem is that space, my bad. Enter number of strings. So if I write 123, so behind the scene 123 actually passes a string. Okay, and not palindrome. Again, if we run the program and if write 121, okay, so okay, actually it takes space there. So for that we have to write underscore n. Okay, so we stop the program and again run the program. So enter string. Hmm. Data input number of string. Okay, now if we print 121, okay, that is palindrome. It perfectly work. If we again run the program and if I write madam, madam, and if we press enter, so that is palindrome. If I write Rahul and again if we run the program, not palindrome. Okay, so it perfectly work. Okay, so but the point to be noted here, I pass if I pass 123. Okay, so yeah, if you want to make it perfect, so please there are so many logic. Okay, so but if I write 121, so actually it's not passed as a number, it passes as a string, it will consider as a string. Okay, and if I write 121, that is considered as palindrome, but perfectly work. Okay, so here we make one more function with the name my palindrome, and in my palindrome we can pass the data and again we check. Okay, so what is actually the working of data, then that is actually a slicing concept. If you are good with the slicing, then you can easily understand that concept. So here we use a slicing concept of a string. Okay, and here we write colon colon minus one. Actually it reverse that string, and if both are equal then we want to print actually it is palindrome, otherwise we want to print it is not palindrome. So here we make one more function with the name my palindrome. Okay, and it perfectly works. Now we make some more function. Okay, so we have to take one number and we have to perform sum of all digit. Okay, so if you want to take a screenshot, so please take it. Now we have to take one more example in which we have to make a function to find the sum of all digit. Okay, so we have to design one function in which we have to perform sum of all digit. Means that sum of all digit means that if user enter 121, so here the output is 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1. So here the output is actually 3. Oh, sorry, 4. If user enter 123, so here the output is if user enter 123, so here the output is 3 plus 2, 5 plus 1, 6. So that is sum of all digit. Okay, and we have to design one function for it. Okay, so for that first we have to take one number from the user. So we have to write num is equal to, then we have to use input function, enter one number, and it will take number in a string format. So with the help of integer function, int function, we have to convert into integer format. Okay, so here we convert string to integer with the help of int function. And now we have to design one function with the keyword def, and the name of my function is sum of all digit. So here sum of all digit is the name of my function, and inside this we have to pass one number with the name num. Okay, with the help with the name of num, and now we have to perform sum of digit operation. Okay, so there are so many ways. So okay, we remove it, we have to take that number in a string format. Okay, and then for for I in num we have to perform addition operation. Okay, so for that we have to take one more variable, that is sum is equal to 0. So here we take sum as a reference, and in sum we initialize 0, and we have to write sum is equal to sum plus int of I, because here I is in a string format. Okay, because if we write for I in num, so it will iterate one value from num, and we know that because here we remove input function, so uh, it will take input in a string format. If we write 123, so behind the scene it is in string format. Okay, and here we convert into integer format, because if we not convert into integer form, so we will get error. Okay, so see, if we write like this, because here sum is an integer format and I is in character format, so we'll get error. So if we write like 123, press enter. So no, it's perfectly work now. But if we call the function, so here we write like sum of all digit, and we have to pass num. Okay. First we have to check the error, enter number, and here we pass 120, 112. Okay, and see the error. Unsupported operand type for plus, one is integer and second is of string. So that is actually the problem, and that is the reason we will here we convert that character into integer form. So for that we have to write that here we have to perform a typecasting. Okay, here we want to convert character to integer. Now it's perfectly fine, and at last we have to return the sum. Okay, so if it return the value, so first we print, or if we want to store in another reference, so that is also possible. Okay, that's fine. Now again we run the program, enter a number, and if I write 121, output is 4. It perfectly works. And I want to write a number in a new line, so for that we have to write backward slash n, and again we run the program. Okay, and now we enter 123. So guess what is the output? 3 plus 2 5 plus 1 6. Answer is 6. So it's perfectly works. So that is sum of all digits. There are so many ways to solve the program. Okay, if you want to take data in an integer format, so that is also possible. Okay, means that there are so many ways. So this is the first way to write to solve this program, and this is a very easy way to solve sum of all digit program. Okay, if you are from Java background, so use some other logic in which you have to use modulus of times, so that is also possible. Okay, if you want to write in that manner, so that is also possible, but for that you have to first take input in an integer format. Okay, so first I comment this code. Okay, and again we have to convert that number in an integer format. Okay, now if you input any of the number, so it will take in an integer format. Okay, and again we write the program, that is sum of all digit num, and in this case we have to write, we have to first take sum is equal to 0, and then while num is not equal to 0, while num is not equal to 0, we have to perform some operation. So we have to perform sum is equal to sum plus num mod time, and again we have to divide number by 10. Okay, and at last we have to return the sum. So that is also possible, and again if we run the program and see the output, enter number, so enter number, if I enter 123, so here the output is 6. It perfectly works. So there are so many ways to write the logic. So if you write in that manner, like by using uh, input in a string format, so that is also possible. And if you write in a that manner by using a modulus operator and by using a division operator, flow division operator, so that is also possible. There are so many ways to write the logic. Okay, so here again we design one more beautiful function, that is sum of all digit, to understand the working of function. Okay, now we move to some other program. Okay, so if you want to take a screenshot, so please take it, otherwise we will move to next program. Okay, now if you want to check the given number is prime or not. Okay, so for that first we have to take one number from the user and check it that number is prime number or not. Okay, so first we have to take one number like num is equal to, okay, so we have to take one number from the user and we want that number in a new line. So for that we have to use backward slash n. Okay, then we have to design one function with the name def, and the name of my function is prime number. So here prime number is the name of my function. Okay, and we have to write the logic. So for that first we have to pass that number inside the function, and if that number is less than 0, if that number is less than 0, then we want to return false, as if that number is equal to 1, then we want to return, if that number is equal to 1, then we want to return true. Okay, so we have to use alif, not as, and that is actually the reason we will get error. So here we use alif. Okay, now it perfectly work. As for I in range from 2 to, and we have to find the square root. Okay, and here we will get output in a floating point form, so we have to convert into integer form. So for that again we use typecasting concept, because that if we write num, that is num to the power 2, okay, plus 1. Okay, actually here we use 0.5, not 2. Okay, so it will find the square root, and the square root is in floating point form, and that is the reason we have to convert that floating point value into integer form. And we know that range is always considered, if we write 2 to 4, so it will move only 2 to 3. Okay, it will not consider the last number, and that is the reason we will increase the value by 1. Okay, now we want to check if that I modulus 2, sorry, we want to check that num modulus I equal 0, if this condition satisfies. So we want to return false. Okay, otherwise we want to return true. Otherwise we want to return true. Now we have to write if now we have to call that function. So you write prime number, and here we pass that num, and we know that if always work for true, if this condition is true, so we want to print it's a prime number. Otherwise we want to print not prime number. Okay, now we run the program, enter number, and here we enter 13, and 13 is a prime number. Okay, if we write 15, so 15 is not a prime number, it perfectly work. If we write 21, so 21 is not a prime number, If we write 17, so 17 is a prime number, it perfectly works. So it is a perfect example to check the given number is prime number or not. Okay, so here we make one function with the name prime number, and in this we have to pass one number and we have to check. Okay, that number is prime number or not. If number is less than 0, so actually it's a negative number, so you want to return false. If number is equal to 1, then it is a prime number. And as we have to check if the number is start from 2 to any number. Okay, so we check for 2 also. So here I take 2. So 2 is a prime number. It perfectly works. Okay, if we talk about 3, if we talk about 3, 3 is a prime number. If we talk about 5, 5 is a prime number. It perfectly works. Okay, so in as part we have to check, okay, for I in range. So range is a predefined function, and we start that range function from 2, and in this we have to find the, here we write num, then star 0.5. Okay, so star is a power operator, and we have to write 0.5. 0.5 means 1 by 2. Okay, so here we find the square root of the number, and we increase, because we know that the square root is always in floating point form, and that is the reason we convert that floating point number into the integer form by using a int function. Okay, so with the help of int we can convert that floating point number into the integer form, and here we increase the value by 1, because we know that if we write like range, if we write like this, okay, for explanation, if you write like this, like range 2 comma 6, so it will range will start from 2, range will start from 2, it will consider 3, it will consider 4, it will consider 5, but it will not consider 6. So last number is always excluded. Okay, and that is the reason we will increase that number by 1. Okay, and this is a perfect example to check the given number is prime number or not. Okay, now we move to some other functionality of function. Okay, so if you want to take a screenshot, so please take it. Okay, so next, like if we talk about normal function, like if you want to make one a sum of two number, like a comma b, a comma b, and if you want to return, or we gave some other name, not sum, calculate. Okay, calculate. So calculate is the name of our function, and in this we have to pass two numbers like num1 and num2. Okay, and we call that function, so we have to call calculate, and in calculate we have to pass 3 comma 4, or we write like this, like we have to pass 56 comma 3. Okay, so that is function calling. So here we calculate, okay, so it will return the value. So for that we have to print that number, or we have to store that number in any reference, but here we directly print that result. Okay, so here the output is 59. It perfectly works. But if you want to return a multiple values, so that is also possible. So that is also possible, means that if you want to return num1 minus num2, num1 minus num2, or you want to return, and you want to return like num into num2, num into num2, so that is possible. If you want to return multiple values, so that is possible. Okay, so first we print that value. So here the output is 59, 53 and 168. Okay, so if you think that here we return multiple values, no, here we return only one values, but that value is in tuple format. Okay, and if you want to store in a different reference, so that is also possible, because if you want to check its type, okay, we want to check the type. So for that we have to first store that result in some reference. So here I take result is equal to calculate, and here we have to pass two number like 56 and 3, and then we have to check its type. So with the help of type function we have to check the type of result. So type of result. Okay, so here the type is tuple. Okay, so that is possible. Okay, but if you want to store in a different like reference, so that is also possible, means that in place of result, res, if you write like first is sum, second is subtraction, so for that you have to take sum, and third is multiplication. So for multiplication you have to use mul, so that is also possible. Okay, and here we, if you want to print it, so first is sum, second is subtraction, and third is multiplication. So that is also possible. So that is actually the beauty of Python. If you want to return multiple things, so that is possible, but actually return a one value in a form of tuple. Okay, and if you want to store that output in different reference, so that is also possible. Okay, means that if you want to return one more value like division or flow division, so here I write like num, and here we use flow division operator. Okay, so that is also possible. For that we have to take one more reference like div, and we have to print that div, and here the output is 18, and here we perform a flow division operator. Okay, so that is perfectly work. And that is actually the beauty of the Python, because if we talk about the other programming language, so that functionality is not available. But in Python, if you want to return multiple tasks, so that is possible. But if you think that it will return multiple values, no, it will return only one value, but in a form of tuple. Okay, so sometimes if you go for the interview, then an interviewer asks, okay, so it will return multiple values or a single value. It will always return one single value, but in a tuple format. Means that if you return multiple values, it will return only one value in a form of tuple. Okay, so it perfectly works. So that is beauty of function. Now if you want to take a screenshot, so please take it, otherwise we will move to another important functionality, that is variable length argument. So next is variable length argument. Okay, suppose that at runtime you have to pass multiple numbers. Okay, so like that, here I want to make one function like my sum, and in my sum I want to pass multiple values like 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6 comma 100 comma 101, multiple values. Okay, so it is possible or not? Yes, it is possible in Python with the help of variable length argument. So first we design that function like taf, the name of my function is my sum, and here use star num. Okay, star num. So it will take that that star is important because this is variable length argument, and if we check the type of num, here if we check the type of num, so actually it is in tuple format. Okay, that actually my bad, I missed that colon part. Again, if we run the program, see the output class tuple. So if you pass multiple values, so behind the scene, it will pass that number as a tuple format. Okay, and if you have to perform addition operations, so for that you have to take one number like sum is equal to 0, and now you have to iterate one value. So for that, for an in num, and here you perform addition operation. Okay, oh, perfectly work. And here you want to print the sum, or if you want to return it, so that is also possible. So for that we have to again print the sum here. If we run the program, so here the output is 222. Okay, so we will take only 2 3 numbers. Okay, so here I pass like 1 comma 2 comma 3, so 3 plus 2 5 plus 1 6. It perfectly works. Okay, so this variable length argument will make tasks more easier. Means that if you want to pass multiple values at a runtime, suppose that now I want to pass 6 comma 7 comma 8 comma 9 comma 11, multiple values, so all are acceptable, all these value pass as a tuple, then we have to fetch one value and we have performed addition operation on it. Okay, so that variable length argument make task very easier. So here the output is 47, and technically we call it variable length argument. So if you want to take a screenshot, so please take it, otherwise we will move to next topic, that is keyword variable length argument. Okay, so at runtime, suppose that you have to pass my data. So my data is the name of my function, and you have to pass data like this, like name is equal to Rahul, name is equal to Rahul, age is equal to 18, and marks is equal to 88. Okay, so that is actually a key value pair. In this, we have to pass value in a key value pair. Like name is a key and Rahul is the data. Okay, so that is also possible with the help of keyword variable and the argument. Okay, so first we have to design that function. So for that we have to write def, then my data. So my data is the name of my function, and my data, inside my data function we have to take parameter that is keyword variable length argument. Okay, so for that we have to write 2 star and kwargs is the name of our parameter. Okay, so we take it more easy. So for that we have to write args. Okay, so that is actually a keyword variable length argument. Okay, so here we take a keyword variable length argument, and if we check it type, so for that we have to write print type of args. So if we check the type of args, so it is in dictionary format. Okay, and if we want to print it, so for that you have to write for I comma j in args dot item, we have to print ij. So name is Rahul, age is 18, marks is 88. So that is also possible with the help of keyword variable and argument. Means that if you want to pass data in a key value pair form, so that is also possible to accept that data in a key value pair with the help of keyword variable and argument. So this is very important functionality of function in Python. Next we move to very important topic, that is recursion. Okay, so recursion is a process in which function call itself again and again. Okay, so we have to find the factorial of any number. We have to take one example in which we have to find the factorial of number. Okay, so the name of a function is fact. So fact is the name of function, and in factorial we have to find the factorial of 5. Okay, so first we have to design that function. So for that, if we write def, first we write def, then fact is the name of our function, and inside fact we have to take one reference like num. Okay, and if num is equal to 1, then we want to return 1. Otherwise, as we have to return num into factorial num minus 1. Okay, and because it returned the value, so we have to print that data. So for that we have to use print function, and we check the factorial. So output is 120, perfectly work. Okay, now we want to find the factorial of suppose 9. The factorial of 9 is 362880. It perfectly work. We have to find the factorial of 3, that is 6, perfectly work. Okay, so in this we have to return num into fact of num minus 1. So if you pass 5 here, like we take 5 here, if you pass 5, then that 5 is passed as a parameter inside the num. Okay, so if num is 5 is equal to 1, that condition is false, then it moves to as part, and it return that statement like this, like 5 into, again it call the function fact, and here I write 5 minus 1, that is 4. Okay, then again it call the function, it pass here 4 is passed as a parameter, again 4 equal to 1, condition false, again it moves to as part, and it solve that equation like this, like 4 into factorial of 4 minus 1, that is 3. Again it call the fact function, again it moves to as part because 3 is not equal to 1, again it moves to as part, and it solve that equation, and like this, like 3 into fact of 2. Again 2 is passed as a number, and 2 is not equal to 1, then again it moves to as part, it solve that equation, and again it solve that statement like this, like 2 into factorial of 1. That 1 is passed as a number, and 1 equal to 1. Okay, so it will return 1, then it solve that equation, it will return 1 actually here, it will return 1, then 1 into 2, that is 2, 2 into 3, that is 6, 6 into 4, that is 24, and 24 into 5, that is 120. And here the output is 120. So what is actually recursion? Recursion is a process in which function call itself again and again. Okay, so that is actually the perfect example of recursion. So that's all with my today's class. Thank you so much.